Have you ever seen a rock wall like the one showing on your screen right now? Massive, solid, full of cracks and imperfections. It just looks like a regular cliff, right? Now imagine someone walks up to you and says that inside that very wall, there could be precious stones of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Would you believe it? Well, that's exactly what many geologists and experienced gem hunters already know. And that's why massive excavators like this one are built, and billions of dollars are spent every year by companies trying to extract those hidden minerals. In other words, what most people see as just another dull, lifeless rock wall might actually be hiding a real treasure. Because what you're looking at is volcanic rock. And thousands of years ago, that entire cliff was nothing but boiling magma, rising from deep within the earth, until it exploded violently in an eruption. But here's the most impressive part. As that magma begins to cool, it solidifies into rock, and inside, it can form crystals that developed under extreme pressure and temperature like diamonds, sapphires, spinels, peridots, zircons, all of them hiding inside tiny pockets and fractures that only trained eyes can recognize. And the wildest part? Sometimes these gems are completely invisible until someone breaks open the right rock in the right spot. Now think about this for a second. How can a rough, dark, sometimes gray and ugly rock hide something as bright as the diamond you're seeing on your screen right now? It sounds impossible, but that's just how nature works. It loves to hide its greatest masterpieces in the most unlikely places. But what does that mean for you? Do you need to blow up an entire mountain to find one of these stones? Of course not. In fact, you're about to learn the opposite. How gem hunters around the world are able to find these treasures using simple tools, like a sieve, a magnifier, and a close analysis of loose fragments in the soil. No need to spend thousands of dollars on heavy mining equipment. So stick with me until the end, because in today's video, I'm going to show you the 5 most valuable gemstones that can form inside volcanic rock. And if you pay close attention, you'll understand exactly how to find one using nothing more than what nature already gives you. Now take a close look at this white rock showing up on your screen. Looks pretty simple, right? Very light in color, kind of chalky and dull, with a texture that reminds you of limestone or plaster. But let me ask you something. Do you have any idea what kind of gemstone could be hiding inside a rock like that? Most people have no clue, and that's exactly where the secret lies. Because inside this unimpressive rock, you might find one of the most valuable and deceptive crystals out there, spinel. This gem was mistaken for ruby for centuries, and it's no wonder the shine, the color, even the shape of the crystals are so similar that even professional jewelers have made serious mistakes. Just to give you an idea, that famous red jewel in the British crown, the one everyone thought was a ruby, it's actually a spinel. What's even more interesting is that in photos and geological records, spinel often appears exactly like this, embedded in light-colored rocks, especially in ancient metamorphic formations. These rocks are formed through deep transformations that happen when limestone and dolomite are exposed to extreme heat and pressure, usually near tectonic collision zones or areas with a long history of volcanic activity. In those environments, spinel crystals grow with well-defined shapes and vibrant colors that make them look like they were already cut and polished by the earth itself. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how am I supposed to find a stone like that if it's stuck inside a mountain wall? And the answer is simpler than you might think. You don't need to blow anything up. What experienced gem hunters do is pay close attention to the surroundings. If there are cliffs, marble outcrops, or metamorphic rock formations in the area, then chances are the soil nearby has loose fragments from those same rocks. That's where rivers, slopes, and hillsides come in. When it rains, the water breaks off and carries down small pieces of those rocks. Rivers and streams act like natural conveyor belts, slowly transporting that material. Over time, some of those fragments get trapped along riverbanks, eroded slopes, or in places where the current slows down. And that's where you might find loose crystals, including spinel, without having to dig deep or break any stone. With a basic sieve, a magnifying glass, and a bit of patience, you can spot these gems by their shine, shape, and color, even if they're covered in a thin layer of dirt. So next time you come across a pale, chalky-looking rock, or if you're walking along a riverbed near one of these formations, pay attention. You might be standing right where nature left behind one of the most valuable crystals that even fooled royalty. And the difference between finding a regular rock and discovering a rare gemstone is knowing what to look for. And more importantly, paying attention to the landscape around you. And this is just the beginning. Because now that you understand how spinel forms and spreads through nature, it's going to be a lot easier to use that same knowledge as we dive into the next gemstones coming up in this video. Take a look at the dark, porous rock that is now showing up on your screen. The surface looks scorched, full of petrified bubbles, with an uneven texture that seems like it was shaped by fire. And in a way, it actually was. What you're seeing is a piece of basalt, a volcanic rock formed when liquid magma cools quickly after reaching the surface. And even though it might seem like just a hardened chunk of lava, it could be hiding one of the most fascinating gemstones on Earth, peridot. This vibrant green stone you see glowing now forms under such extreme conditions that only the heart of the Earth could produce it. Peridot originates deep in the Earth's mantle, more than 50 miles below the surface, in a place where heat and pressure are so intense that almost nothing survives. The only way it reaches the surface is through an explosive volcanic eruption, the kind that turns magma into basalt or olivine-rich formations. And here's the secret. Peridot is actually the gem-quality version of olivine. When this mineral crystallizes with good clarity and strong color, it becomes a gemstone. And it can be quite valuable, especially when it's natural, well-sized, and clean in appearance. Some peridots can sell for anywhere between $50 and $300 per carat depending on the quality, origin, and cut. But where can you find a stone that was born so deep inside the planet? The answer is in volcanic rocks. In Hawaii, for example, you can sometimes see small pieces of peridot mixed into the black sand of lava beaches. In Arizona, especially on the San Carlos Apache Reservation, there are basalt-rich areas full of olivine where local gem hunters still find peridot today. And many of them use a simple but extremely effective method, sieving. This technique, which existed long before modern gemology, involves collecting loose soil, sifting it carefully, and examining each grain that sparkles in the sunlight. Here's a tip. Peridot has a very specific yellow-green color, almost like a leaf lit by a flashlight. That glow, combined with its glassy and grainy appearance, makes it easier to tell apart from other crystals. And even if it seems basic, this method of sieving soil is actually one of the most advanced forms of traditional gem hunting. It focuses exactly where time and gravity have already done most of the work, separating the densest, most durable, and most valuable fragments from everything else. In regions with volcanic history, all you need to do is look where the basalt naturally breaks apart. Hillsides, gullies, and riverbanks are perfect places to begin your search. Now that we've seen everything so far, could you describe what's on your screen? Yes, it's exactly what it looks like. A diamond trapped inside a dark, crumbly, uneven rock. And as strange as it may seem, this is exactly where the world's most valuable diamonds are born. That rock is called kimberlite, and for those who don't know it, it looks like anything but valuable. But among experts, kimberlite is one of the most sought-after rocks on the planet because it's where diamonds form, grow, and in rare cases, reach the surface. Kimberlite is a rare volcanic rock formed by magma that comes directly from the Earth's mantle. And unlike regular lava flows, this magma rises at extremely high speeds through narrow channels known as kimberlite pipes. It works like a natural elevator, bringing up fragments of the mantle along with it. And it's within those fragments that diamonds are created, under pressure and temperature conditions that only exist deep underground, more than 90 miles beneath the surface. The most surprising thing is the contrast. The rock that carries one of the most valuable materials on Earth is also one of the ugliest to look at. Kimberlite usually has a crumbly, dark appearance with greenish or bluish-gray tones, and a porous texture that looks like dry cement mixed with volcanic ash. But don't be fooled. That rough look is actually a sign that a true treasure might be hidden inside. And it's not just diamonds found in kimberlite. These formations can also contain other rare and valuable gemstones such as chromite, in some cases spinel, peridot, which is a deep red garnet, peridot zircon, and even topaz. But what really matters in the field is knowing how to recognize the signs. That's where indicator minerals come in. They act like clues left behind by nature. The main kimberlite indicators are garnet, especially the chromium-rich variety that shows a reddish or purplish tone, ilmenite, which has a dark metallic shine, and chromite with its intense black color and dull luster. These minerals are not only resistant to erosion, but also dense and distinct enough to be sifted from the soil, just like people do with gold or other gems. That means even if you don't see any exposed kimberlite, the presence of these indicators in nearby rivers, slopes, or hillsides might suggest that a kimberlite pipe is close. That's why, when you find one of these indicator crystals loose in a riverbed, it's worth following the stream upstream and searching for fragments of dark, compacted, crumbly rock. If you're lucky and patient, you might find the source. And that's when, buried in what looks like a worthless rock, you could uncover a raw diamond, just like the one you're seeing right now. Next, we've got a gemstone that's just as well hidden, but has a golden glow that almost no one can ignore. Let's keep going. Now take a look at this tiny crystal on your screen. At first glance, it might seem completely insignificant, right? So small that you'd almost overlook it. But what you're seeing here is a zircon. And despite its size, this little stone is a true fossil of the earth. Literally. Because among all the gems we've talked about so far, none have a story as ancient as this one. Zircon is one of the oldest substances ever found in the Earth's crust. Some crystals dated by scientists are over 4 billion years old. That's right, billion with a B. That means before continents even existed, before any form of complex life appeared, zircons were already there, forming deep inside igneous rocks while the planet was still a chaotic ocean of magma in transformation. But why does that matter? Because zircon is not only a gemstone used in high-end jewelry, it's also a powerful scientific tool. Geologists use it to date ancient rock formations, since it can withstand heat, pressure, and time better than almost anything else in nature. Inside its crystal, it holds traces of uranium and thorium. And as these elements decay over time, they act like a natural clock. It's as if each zircon carries a time code, revealing exactly when and where it was formed. Now, in the world of gemology, zircon also has serious value. It can appear in colors like blue, yellow, golden, brown, or even colorless. And when it's well cut, it shines with an intense brilliance, almost as strong as a diamond. That's why high-quality natural zircons can sell for anywhere between $50 and $500 per carat, depending on the color and clarity. Blue zircon, for example, is one of the most sought after, but also one of the rarest. So where can you find a crystal like this? Most zircons form inside igneous rocks like syenite, granite, or even certain types of pegmatite. These are rocks that develop when magma cools slowly, giving crystals time to grow. Out in the field, that means if you're exploring an area with exposed granite or ancient volcanic formations, it's worth taking a closer look. Zircon might be mixed in with larger minerals, or sitting loose as a dense, durable crystal among heavier sediments. Even if it doesn't grab your attention right away, its glassy shine and prismatic shape are solid clues. In places where these rocks have been broken down by erosion, like riverbanks or gullies, zircon tends to collect in spots where lighter material has already been washed away by the water. And that's where the sifting technique comes into play once again. Corundum is the mineral responsible for creating both sapphires and rubies. It's usually found in rough, low-grade rock formations that don't look like much at first. But even though the host rock may seem unattractive, corundum itself is extremely rare and highly sought after by gem hunters all over the world. These two gemstones are among the most desired on the planet, ranking just below diamonds in value and prestige. And the difference between them comes down mostly to color. When corundum is red, we call it a ruby. When it's blue, pink, yellow, green, or even colorless, it's known as a sapphire. But no matter the color, what makes these stones truly special is their extreme hardness, their brilliant luster, and their ability to withstand time, heat, and pressure. Corundum typically forms in metamorphic rocks like gneiss and schist, which go through deep transformations over millions of years. But it can also show up in igneous environments, especially along the edges of ancient volcanic zones where the heat and the right mix of minerals came together in just the right proportions. In those places, the rocks may look dull and broken, with no clear shape, but inside them grow hexagonal crystals with intense color and a glassy shine, ready to become valuable gems. In places like the state of Montana in the United States and in parts of Asia, it's possible to find sapphire and ruby fragments that have been naturally tumbled through rivers. Some get trapped in old gravel beds, and others end up lying loose on the ground, hidden among ordinary stones. Out in the field, experienced gem hunters look for these transition zones between metamorphic and igneous formations. They analyze the soil and check the slopes that have been worn down over time by rain and erosion. And once again, the sifting technique plays an essential role. With this simple method used for generations, you can separate the heavier minerals from the lighter material. Since corundum is extremely hard and resistant to erosion, it tends to settle at the bottom of riverbeds, where the water slows down and the denser particles stay behind. A raw sapphire or ruby might look dull or unimpressive at first, but once it's cleaned and cut, it reveals a transparency and color that can amaze even the most trained eyes. Beyond its hardness, the shape of the crystal also helps with identification. Corundum often forms well-defined crystals, with flat faces and sharp edges, usually in hexagonal or prismatic shapes, which makes it easier to distinguish from more common minerals. Even when it's still embedded in the host rock, its shine can give it away if you know where to look. Sometimes all it takes is a quick rinse or a small chip breaking off to reveal its real value. And that's exactly why, even in rocks with no visual appeal at all, there might be a deep blue sapphire or a blood-red ruby hiding in the dust. Now imagine that after watching this video, you decide to explore a dry riverbed near your town, or maybe that little gravel road you walk past every day. And suddenly, right there among the rocks, you spot a small, dark stone with a strange shine and a weight that just doesn't feel normal. At first glance, it looks like just another ordinary rock, but something about it makes you stop. And then the question hits you. Did I just find a rough diamond? Or maybe a ruby still covered in dirt? The one showing on your screen right now is a sapphire, for example. And yes, there are many ways to figure it out. Some are simple, at-home methods, while others require expensive tools or professional lab analysis. But knowing what you're holding could protect you from falling for scams, or worse, from selling something worth thousands of dollars for just a few cents. Think about it. What's the point of finding one of these rare gems, noticing the signs, carefully digging it out, watching it sparkle in the light, only to not even know what you've really found? The truth is, finding the stone is only half the journey. The real value lies in recognizing what you have in your hands. But can you really identify gemstones using simple methods at home? The answer is yes, without a doubt. And that's exactly why I created the ebook Gemology Journey for Beginners. It's a complete guide for anyone just starting out, with clear explanations, detailed images, and practical tests you can do using tools you already have at home, no lab required. You'll learn how to test hardness, density, luster, transparency, and figure out whether that reddish stone you found is quartz, garnet, spinel, topaz, sapphire, or maybe even a ruby or a diamond. The digital version is already available with lifetime access, including all future updates at no extra cost. And just for being a subscriber to this channel, you get an exclusive discount. For a limited time, the ebook is only $14.95 instead of the regular $29.90. Just click the first link in the description or the pinned comment below. And we're also launching a physical edition of the book, printed on high-quality paper with detailed illustrations and everything you need to identify gemstones with confidence, without relying on anyone else's opinion. But if now's not the right time to grab the ebook or become a channel member, that's totally fine. You can still subscribe and enjoy all the upcoming videos completely free. In fact, coming up next, you'll learn how to find precious gemstones in places no one ever thinks to look. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Good luck, Gem Hunter!